Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Pear Deck webinar, Exploring the Teacher Dashboard. My name is Erin and I'll be leading you through this webinar. And let me change my name on the screen here. And again, my name is Erin and I work on the customer support team at Pear Deck, and I'm here to present the Exploring the Teacher Dashboard webinar, and I'm sharing my screen. This has the join instructions for my presentation, and I'd love to have you join this presentation as a student so that you can experience that view. You'll get a really good idea of how Pear Deck works this way. So please go ahead to joinpd.com and enter the 6-letter join code. Once you do that, you'll be in the session immediately as a student, because today I have anonymous login, so nobody even needs an email address to join this presentation. So go ahead to joinpd.com, enter that 6-letter code that you see there, UZKPMW. Alternatively, you can join this session with the link, and that link is available in the join instructions. Every time you join or start, every time you start a Pear Deck session, you're going to see that link. See where it says give students a link on my screen. I'm clicking on that. Now, please do keep my screen open here in the Zoom call. That's the one where I'm going to share the presentation views, the projector and dashboard views with you. But I'd love for you to open another window, maybe exit full screen so you can open another window, or open your phone or another device and go to joinpd.com, or click on this link, which I'm going to paste in our Zoom chat. And there we go. Oh, that was a different message that I was just using to update our knowledge base. But let me go ahead and grab that link again and paste that for you in our Zoom chat. And that's the link to join the session. You can click on that now if you haven't joined the session yet. And I'll give everyone just a moment to enter. So when your class is joining the session, you'll see that the number of students increase as they join in real time. So you can see on our screen that 8 people have connected. And I can close these join instructions simply by clicking outside or clicking on this X. When you close the join instructions, you see the code up there in the top right corner of the screen. So anyone who joins the session later can easily enter at joinpd.com and using that 6-letter code. And I'd like to officially welcome you then to the Exploring the Teacher Dashboard webinar. And this is a webinar that focuses on the private teacher dashboard view and all of the powerful instructional tools that are available within it. And I've started a Pear Deck session for you to join as a student so that you can do that in a separate window. So you'll have 2 screens open. You'll have a presentation where I'm sharing slides, and then that second view where you're joining as a student, either clicking that link in the Zoom chat or going to joinpd.com. So I'm glad you've decided to join me, because this is a great way for you to experience Pear Deck and, acting as the student. And you're going to see all of the views of the Pear Deck presentation. But I'm also going to have you do some sample slides, and we're going to see how your responses look in the teacher dashboard, and where we can see names of students. By the way, the dashboard is a premium feature in Pear Deck. You don't need a premium subscription to do this webinar today, or to learn about the dashboard, to join a presentation session. But you will either need a premium subscription or a premium trial in order to use the dashboard in your lessons. Here are today's topics. We're going to start talking about what the dashboard is exactly. We'll talk about why use it, and then we'll do a demonstration. So I'll open the dashboard for this presentation, and we're going to look at how to run it, keeping in mind that the dashboard syncs to all views. So you can actually use it to control the whole presentation, even like a remote control if you want, if you're working in the classroom again, or when you work in the classroom again. We'll talk about the student roster, which is in the dashboard, how to hide and highlight responses on your projector view, how to send feedback directly to a student, and how to share your dashboard with co-teachers. Finally, we'll look at ways to evaluate responses and also save time for a Q&A session at the end. First, what is the dashboard? Well, the dashboard is a powerful presentation control tool. And every Pear Deck session has 3 views: the projector view, the student view, and that third one, the dashboard. When you start a Pear Deck session in instructor pace mode, which is what I'm doing right now, you open the projector view automatically. You can see here in my URL, it says projector. And I started this presentation directly from Google Slides. This is just one way to do it, to start a live session. And I clicked Start Lesson, and then I chose Instructor Pace Mode in this case. And I'm using that because I want to be in control of the presentation slides right now. But you can also use Student Pace Mode and let students control the slides on their student view when they join the session. And if you look at your view where you join the session, you'll see that it says student up in the URL. That means you're in the student view where you can respond to interactive questions, and there will be some, I guarantee. So right now I'm going back to our current presentation session. I have the projector view open. I'm sharing this with the class. That's the best practice with Pear Deck, because on the projector view, the responses are anonymous by default. And we're going to see that. But the dashboard view has names, and you're going to see students' names right next to their answers. Plus, you've got a lot of extra presentation control tools in there. So here's what it looks like. I'm skipping to my next slide, and here it is. This is a picture of the dashboard. You're going to have the projector preview on the right, and the slide navigator is automatically open on the left. You also have a navigation bar at the bottom of the screen so that you can use it to control the slides. And you can see in my current presentation, if I hover over the bottom of the slide, my navigation bar opens. I have similar controls here. And I can open my slide navigator between the slide arrows, just like that. And you're going to see how the slide shelf is open, but I can always hide that away. In the dashboard, you're going to have that open. It's part of the dashboard functionality. Now, in addition to that, you can see a name here underneath this drawing response. And you can see a mood indicator. If you turn on classroom climate feedback, which you can do in your Pear Deck home settings, and we'll take a really close look at that. Now, you can see that you can sort responses and layouts in the dashboard really easily. And by sorting the layout, you're going to have some extra tools available to you. You can sort by time and by the name of the student, the time referring to when the answer was received in the dashboard. And you can open join instructions by clicking on this join code button up here in the top right. You can see the roster here in with this blue button. If you open it, you're going to see the list of students who have joined your session at any point, whether they're online or not. You can give students individual feedback with this little teacher feedback button. You can highlight responses on your projector view with the star, or hide them using the More Actions button next to the name. Plus, you can invite a co-teacher using the menu here in the dashboard. So why use the dashboard? Well, simply put, the dashboard helps maximize learning outcomes without having to leave the Pear Deck app. And I'd like to take a quick look at the learning science upon which Pear Deck is built. And here we have the learning activities and outcomes from our website, actually. And we use this to help explain the logic model behind Pear Deck, the learning outcomes that can be achieved with Pear Deck, no matter what subject you're teaching. And we also use it to describe Pear Deck's efficacy. On a broad level, the dashboard helps us achieve best practices in Pear Deck. More specifically, it helps teachers give timely, specific feedback to students in ways that drive metacognition and deeper learning of any content that you're teaching. And it also gives you and your co-educators instant results from students. So you get deeper insight into your classroom instruction. And because the dashboard is perfect for both administering and evaluating formative assessments, it really helps us improve the learning outcomes and achievement in our students. Now, I'd love to try a few slides, and keep in mind that you're going to be responding as a student, but a bit later I'll show you the dashboard and we'll see those responses in the dashboard. Of course, you've joined the session anonymously, so we won't know exactly who you are, but we will be able to see those responses attached to your avatar. So here's our first sample slide. Locate 2 countries where Spanish is the primary language. This is a drawing slide, so you can use the drawing tools on your student view to respond. I'm going to start us off by just sharing these responses on the projector view. And whenever I'm teaching a class, if there are students, real students, not that you aren't, but students in a classroom setting where they might be embarrassed to be called out for their answer. And this is the principle behind Pear Deck. We're getting full student engagement because we're avoiding calling students out unless they want to share that it was their response. So when I share responses, I go to the navigation bar and I click on show responses. There's that projector button, and that's what I use to flip from the original slide to everyone's responses here on the projector. Now, you can see one, and because this is a drawing slide, we're going to see as a default, we're going to see one at a time. So I'll just scroll through, and there's the second response. Very nice. A couple of Latin American countries, very good. So I'll just keep scrolling through. We can talk about, as a class, we can talk about these different examples. Now, if you're wanting to see more than one at a time, you can actually change your response layout on the projector view where I'm working right now. In the top left corner, this is a list layout. I might just switch to a grid layout here and see thumbnails of the responses. And going further to see it a full-on aggregate view, I can use the overlaid layout, and we can see all of the responses on the same background image. So this can be a really nice way to see how the class is doing as a whole, and students can see their responses and their input being taken in real time. So really helps get full student engagement from everyone in class. All right, so we've got this anonymous instance here on the projector view, and I'm going to progress to the next slide. Those responses are saved automatically by Pear Deck, so we can go back and find them later. Now, here's another one. This is a draggable slide. I made a custom draggable slide, which you can do if you have the premium plan. And go ahead and drag those pins on your screen. So as an instructor, I'm going to be looking at my navigation bar and seeing how many responses I have before I share responses. So I have 6 out of 11. And I can share responses really at any time. I'm going to click that same button and see here on the projector, the default layout on the draggable slide is overlaid. So, all right, everybody's centering around the same responses. This is looking pretty good. And again, an easy way for you to tell how your class is doing as a whole. You can always flip through the different layouts in the top left corner. I could do an individual list layout, and point out some good examples or maybe common misconceptions, although I don't think we have any. Well, this one might be a little bit far north on the Qing Dynasty, but this is just another way to show those responses. Again, anonymous still. All right, we're going to save these responses just by, well, they're already saved, but when I switch slides, the students can't change them. Now, here's a good way to use Pear Deck for a literary question, any kind of literature, in this case, Don Quixote. And so you may or may not know the answer to this question, but if you might be able to make a really good guess based on the language here. Now, there's another tool that I want to tell you about on the navigation bar. Next to the show responses button, I have a lock button. And if I click the lock button once, then it locks the student view, and you'll see that on your student view. But I'm going to go ahead and unlock screens, and I'll actually set a timer. So if I want to give my students only a certain amount of time to answer, I'm going to click and hold this lock button on my projector view. And I'm going to set a lock slide timer for 30 seconds, 1 minute, or 3 minutes. When we set that timer, then everybody knows, everyone can see how much time they have before the slide will lock. And I can always show responses even before the slide locks, and we can see on a multiple choice slide, this is what it's going to look like on your projector, because you're going to have an instant poll, an instant tally of what students have chosen. You can change the response layout to a grid and see that in text form. Going back to overlay layout, I'm seeing those tallies once again. Great, great. All right, let's take a look at the dashboard, what we're all here for. And you're going to see just how different it looks with all of those examples that we've gotten from you today. So the dashboard can be opened in a few different ways, actually. If you've already started your presentation, then you can find it in your navigation bar menu. So that's at the bottom of my screen. I'm clicking the More Actions button. Now I can open the dashboard here, either open it in a new window, because the idea is to keep it private so that students aren't seeing it. If I'm displaying my projector view, if I open it in a new window, Zoom won't display it automatically. I can pull it away from the monitor that I'm sharing if I have two devices and unmirror them. So I can open that in a new window. I can also open it on a new device. This is actually really easy because Pear Deck recognizes the account you're logged in with. It's either a Google or a Microsoft Office 365 account. And you'll go to Pear Deck Home and you'll log in with that same account, or basically clicking on Open Dashboard in a new device, you'll get some instructions that you can open a web browser on a separate computer or tablet. A phone doesn't work well with the dashboard because there's a lot of functionality that just can't fit there. But if you have a tablet, that's great, or a separate computer. And go to app.peardeck.com/dash, and that'll open the dashboard for your most recent or current Pear Deck session. So certainly you can open it from your presentation. You can also open the join instructions in the top right corner and click Open Dashboard. Another way to do it is to go to your Pear Deck Home. And I really like this option, and especially because it helps me present the webinar, because I need to show you the dashboard. So I'm going to peardeck.com, our main website, and lots of super helpful information on this website. Also, if you would like to take a webinar on different content, like the Accelerated, which covers a lot of material in Pear Deck, or the Basic Introduction, if you want to learn more about creating slides, you can find all that under Trainings and Webinars. And you can find also a lot of other helpful information like videos, how-to handbook of the knowledge base. But I'm going to focus on teacher login right now up here in the right corner. So join a session is for anyone who wants to join as a student, but teacher login is for those of us who are presenting, creating slides and presenting those sessions. So everyone has a home. You're going to see it. It looks like this. If you log in, if your account is a Microsoft Office 365 account, you're going to see a portal to PowerPoint Online. So you'll be going into the Microsoft suite. But I logged in with Google, and so I can see a portal into Google Slides. That's where we create our lessons. You can, of course, present them from Google Slides as I demonstrated today, or you can find them. You can find those files on your home page under Present a File from Drive, and you can see I can scroll through. I can see my most recent Google Slides files here, and if you don't, just click Open Drive, and you'll be able to search for it immediately and open it from here. Even you can even present a session. So for example, I have this file, Explore the Teacher Dashboard, which I use for my webinar. And you can see all of the sessions that I've presented with this file right here in this sessions menu. Now, importantly, you can also see the projector view. And in addition to that, right next to it, you can see the dashboard view. And that's just another way for me to open the dashboard. And even if your session is closed, you can open the dashboard. So the dashboard is good for controlling the session, getting real-time insight into how your students are doing, or reviewing answers after class, even after it's closed. And when your session is closed, that means students can't get back in and they can't change responses. So if you want to close a session, click on your More Actions button, end the session there. I'm not going to do that yet, but that's how to do it. Okay, so I can open my dashboard. Similarly, I can go to the main sessions menu on my Pear Deck home site and clicking on sessions. And you'll see all of your sessions there, no matter what the file name. You're going to see them in chronological order. And the sessions are saved here automatically. All of your responses are in there via the dashboard or the projector view. So that's where those responses are saved and can be reviewed. Now, if you haven't received responses for 30 days, that session will be archived, and you can find it in your archive tab. You can also manually archive a session. And this means that all of your sessions are saved permanently. You can always go back and find them and restore them. Now, let's take a look at this one here that I presented, 1:59 my time, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this dashboard view. Again, if I were teaching in real time, I would have the dashboard open in a separate window. I actually have during this whole presentation. In a classroom, I'd have it open on a private window or on my tablet, walking around the classroom perhaps. So here we are. All right, now you remember earlier I said this is the projector view. You can see projector in the URL. Well, relatedly, in the dashboard, you can see dash in the URL. So we know we're there. Now, you can see the projector preview on the right. On the left here, you're seeing my slide navigator. It's open, and my speaker notes from Google Slides, they open right up automatically because this is a private view. And yeah, I'm going to use these speaker notes to make sure that I stay on track and show you everything in the dashboard today. So let's go back to a response slide. You'll remember this drawing response slide. So here's the projector preview on the right. Projector synced up to the slide that I chose in the dashboard. Now you can see this is a drawing slide, but I have the overlaid layout on. I'm going to switch this to a grid layout. Now I see thumbnails of the drawings. I'm starting to see names here, but I turned on anonymous login before I presented, so I don't see real names, but I see the avatars and the nicknames. I'm going to change it to a list layout. Makes it a little bit easier to see the drawing slide. And I'm just scrolling through and I'm seeing here, I can see the avatar nickname, classroom climate feedback, because I turned that on. So whoever's woodpecker is doing well today. And then I'll use this to evaluate students' responses. And I want to show you what it looks like. Actually, I will show you what it looks like after this session to have a student join and to see their name. But I'm avoiding sharing personally identifying info today. So now, not only do I see those names, but let's go back. Let's go ahead and change to a grid layout. Either with the list or the grid layout, you have these other tools like the star. The star highlights the responses on the projector view. So I might take a couple really different ones, like from Duck, and I can't read this name right now, but let's go to the projector view and we're going to see just the two responses that I highlighted. So I can use this for discussion, for comparing and contrasting the responses on the projector view. And we can clear those stars. By the way, if I want to see that name, I can expand the view, or I can change the layout and use this to find the student's name. And I can also, to search this page, to better search this page, what I'll do is use Command F on my screen. And you can use Command F or Control F, depending on your device, to search the names here in the dashboard. So, oh, there's pufferfish. And that's like just a quicker way. But of course, you can sort the responses by student. So it'll alphabetize. Currently, it's going to alphabetize by first name. And you can sort by time once again, the time when the response was received. Going back, I'm going to go back to my grid layout. Let's say I want to hide a response from the projector view because perhaps it was off track or inappropriate, or I'm just trying to isolate the responses that I want to share. To hide a response, go to that response and click the More Actions button and click Hide. You're going to see that it's grayed out. You can just hide a few of these down here. The ones that are here in gray and hidden will not show on the projector view. So you can see that they were removed, and the 6 remaining slides only show on the projector view. And this is just a great way to control the presentation without necessarily kicking the student out of the session and without deleting their response. There's no way to delete responses in Pear Deck. We do that to err on the side of caution. So you can always show that response again, just like that. Okay, if you are concerned about someone who's in the session who shouldn't be, then there's a way to remove that person from the session. You can do that in the top right corner where it says class roster. And we're also going to actually see who's joined the session here. So I'm clicking on the class roster and I can see who has joined the session at any point and who's still in it. If they're still in it, it says joined. If they've left the session, it says offline. So they're not currently in the session in their browser. All right, so not only that, but if you need to at any point, you can click on the 3 dots, More Actions. You click Block from Session. That'll remove that student from the session so they can no longer respond. But you can always reverse that action as well. So if I go block from session, I can come back here and I can unblock from session so that student will be allowed to enter again. All right. You've seen the Students tab. Let's take a look at the Teachers tab because this is really interesting. Right now you're seeing 1. Well, I can invite a co-teacher right here, and I'm going to do that right now. First of all, I am going to open another view, another account, so you can see this in action. Okay, making sure that I'm logged in there. So what I'm doing to invite a co-teacher, you can invite anyone to be a co-teacher in your session. They do, however, need to have a premium subscription to Pear Deck. So this is actually very important. Your co-teacher does need to have a premium subscription to Pear Deck in order to get into your dashboard and use all of the controls. So click invite a co-teacher and you get a link. And I'm copying that link, copied it. I'm taking it to my other account here that I have open. And you would just email this to your colleagues. You can post it somewhere that they can see it. And just being careful that only your colleagues have the link. We don't put a strict limit on how many teachers can join a session, but the more that join it, the more people can influence it, change slides, for example, and see all of your students' responses. There's no way for them to do anything to those students' responses, but they can see them all. So just be mindful of that, I guess, that only the people who should have it. And here we are. Now that someone has joined my session, I can see that they're in, I can see that they have access, and they can do everything in the dashboard except for invite more teachers. That's the only thing they can't do. So I can also see here in the top right corner that Naomi Scott has joined my session. Okay, great. Now, you've seen that a co-teacher, you've seen how a co-teacher can join. Well, let's take a look at some student feedback. We haven't sent that yet, and both you and your co-teachers can send feedback directly to students. So I'm actually going to join my session so I can show you the student view, so I can show everyone. And I'm going to join my session just by, I'm going to click on that join code. And oh, that's right. In student pace mode, I can get the link. So if I turn on student pace mode right now, by the way, you can use the join code. I can use that join code at joinpd.com. But if I turn on student pace mode from my more actions button, right like that, super easy. Now you'll see on your student view that you can change through the slides. And when I click on the join code, I can actually get that link here. So I'm copying that link. I'm going to join my own session just by pasting the join link into my browser. You can join any of your own sessions at any time. And again, we're in student pace mode. So if you want to, you can scroll through all those slides and see what that feels like, because you have navigation arrows at the bottom of your screen now that I've turned on student pace mode. And when students leave responses in this mode, they're all saved automatically, just like they are in instructor pace mode. And you can go back and review them when the session's over. In order to get feedback, I do need to leave a response. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on my student view. All right, so now I'm going back to my dashboard view of this session. And in student pace mode, I get a little extra insight. Now on the left here in Slide Navigator, I can see exactly who's on the slide. You see here on my view, there's a little thumbnail of a person. It says 2. That means there are 2 students on the slide. The mollusk and the chameleon are here on slide 8 currently. And if you turn on email login, I'm going to show you how to do that. If you turn on email login, then you're going to see their real names of the students. You'll know what slide they're on. And when you go to that slide, you'll see what they've contributed to the lesson. Okay, so I'm going to stop student pace mode really quickly and just focus us back on the projector. So, or rather the dashboard where I'm working right now. If I click stop student pace on my navigation bar, that's all it takes, and everybody's synced back up to my screen. And as the teacher, you're back in control of the slides. So I've left a response here. I can see this response in the bottom right corner. I might turn on the list layout so it's easier for me to see what Chameleon said. All right, let's say I want to give some feedback. I can do this in instructor and student pace mode, either way. So I'm clicking on the feedback button, this comment button, and I'm saying, okay, maybe it's just a little, these are interesting choices. They're not totally wrong, but I'm going to say maybe, how did you make this choice? Or maybe on a drawing slide, it would be a little bit easier to say, where are some countries that, in which people speak almost exclusively Spanish, for example. Because when you send feedback to a student, they'll see it, but at this time they can't send feedback to you through Pear Deck, but they can change their response. So I got a couple here. One's I kind of circled France, and there's Brazil, so that's more Portuguese. Well, all right, let's just send that feedback. And going to the student view, back on my student view, I'm in my own session. Then I have a notification that I have feedback in the bottom right corner, and I just click on that. And I can see the teacher's feedback. So you and your co-teachers can do this for your students. You don't even have to be, of course, in the same room. You're all connected to the same session. And when students want to review this feedback, they just join the session again by either clicking that join link or going to joinpd.com and entering the 6-letter code from your session, which is always in the top right corner. Great, now I can mark this as read, but the feedback remains there for me to review later as a student. So really, really helpful way to drive the learning and drive the lesson even remotely or in class when you want to give students private feedback that others can't see. Great, so here we are back here in the dashboard, and we've seen the feedback, how to highlight hide responses. We've seen the roster where you're going to find the students who are in your session, teachers who joined. So let's talk quickly about setting this up the right way so that the dashboard contains the information that you want from students, identifying students. You can do this in your settings, and we're just going to go right back to Pear Deck Home. And again, that pathway is peardeck.com. And then teacher login. Of course, I have bookmarked this URL for faster access typically. So that's going to be app.peardeck.com/home. And again, you can go back to your sessions here to see any responses later. But right now I'm going to focus on my settings. So I clicked on my account avatar, and I'm going to my account. Let's see that information. So here we are, you see my plan, and now you can see my settings tab. And here we have all sorts of options. Classroom climate, that's why everyone was able to leave mood feedback at the beginning. You can set it up for mood only, feedback only at the end. You can give a thumbs up or thumbs down to the lesson. So a way for your students to check in with how they did, how they felt about it, what they thought about it. You can certainly turn this off as well. Now, lots of other tools available here. I'm just going to scroll here, right down here to requiring student login. Now, this is a very important setting because this is what's going to allow you to see real students' names. This is the only way to do it. We have to require email login. We don't have a way for students to insert their own names. So you can turn off email login and use the anonymous login. Students get an avatar and nickname assigned to them. Or you can turn on email login just like that, and then choose Google or Microsoft Office 365 accounts. But every student in the class will need to use the same account type, regardless of what you're presenting with. I'm presenting with Google. I could have students log in all with Microsoft, but of course with Google, you get access to the takeaways, and that's another premium feature. Those are individualized Google Docs that can publish at the end of the session. They contain the slides and all of their responses. They're also shared with the student who created those responses. So let's take a look at how the dashboard changes when I turn on email login for students. I'm going to present a separate session. And I'm clicking start lesson. And when I start the lesson, I can start right in student pace mode like you saw earlier, and students get those navigation arrows right away. I can start in instructor pace. I'm going to do that just to be safe right now. And what I mean by that is that so that I don't accidentally collect any personally identifying info. Hopefully we're going to try not to. And I'm going to join this session with my fake student account here. So you can see I use that fake student account as a co-teacher, Naomi. So she's in my dashboard. I'm starting a separate presentation session here. And you can think of a presentation session as a class, a virtual classroom setting for your students. So have the students that are grouped into a class, have them join the same Pear Deck sessions, because you collect all of their responses in that session. So once again, I'm grabbing the link, just clicking give students a link. I love this. It's really fast and easy. Either way though, if your students are, if they're well versed with joinpd.com and the join code, that's great too. So I would email this to my student or post it for them somewhere where they can see it. And I'm just entering that session as a student. Now, I'm going to open this dashboard, and we're going to do this actually from, again, same presentation deck, same file, different session. And you can present any file as many times as you like. So I'm going back into my Pear Deck home and going into sessions. These are all in chronological order. So time and date stamp. Oh, okay, Pear Deck has found my recently started session, asking me to open the dashboard. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And right now I've opened so many different screens. So thank you for bearing with me. I really appreciate it. I'm in the dashboard for my new session. I'm opening the roster. And now you see when a student joins with a real email address, the name from their email account appears here. And so this is how you're going to be able to evaluate real students' responses, just making sure that you, again, there's that roster, make sure that you turn on email login in your settings before you present. You don't have to do that every time. It sticks, it'll stay, that setting will stay, and it'll apply to all subsequent sessions. So make sure that's on if you want to see students' names, and I know most of you do. And you'll see the names next to the responses as well. All righty, now we've covered a lot of content. So what I would like to do is answer any questions that you have remaining. So I'm going to head back to our original presentation, and remember, you joined this one as a student, so and you can always join again if you've lost that screen. So if you have any questions, please let me know. You can start typing here. And I will go ahead and share responses now. We've got a couple of really good questions coming in. Okay. The first one is, if you give teacher feedback through the talk bubble from the dashboard and it is after the live session, how do students see the feedback? I know during the live session, the black talk bubble shows up on the student slide, but again, what if the session is over? Then students can see that feedback again by entering the student view. But you'll want to make sure that the session is live or in student paced mode. And here's how to do that. I'm actually going to head back. I'm leaving this dashboard. I'm going to go back to my sessions menu. And again, that's app.peardeck.com/home/sessions. I'm going to the main sessions list. And so again, the student has to be in the student view of the session in order to see the feedback. And to get them back in there, you'll either want to open the projector view or the dashboard view and make sure that they have the join code or the join link from that session. They may have kept it, but if the student says, I lost the join link, how do I get back in there? Then either open the projector or dashboard view, and you click on the session name and you can see here. Again, I went to the name. We haven't named this yet, but you can click on where it says unnamed session. And I can open the projector or the dashboard view. And by doing that, then you can get the join link or join code, clicking on that link there. And I'll give this information to students, either the link or the code at joinpd.com. They'll use it. Then they'll be able to review, but make sure that the session is live or student paced. If it's closed, they won't be able to enter and see that feedback. So here we have a session on the top. That one's still live, and I can adjust the status here. I can find a closed session and I can go ahead and actually open that one. I can click reopen. You see the status change to live. Now that's instructor paced. So as a teacher, I have to be there to move them through the slides. Well, if I want a student to review feedback, I'm going to go ahead and turn on student paced mode with the same menu. And when students enter that session, they can click through all the slides and see all the feedback. And I know we're over time. I'm going to keep answering your questions. If you can't stay, that's totally fine. I completely understand. If you can, we definitely have a little more time. So feel free to stick around. All righty, back to our questions. Do students see the feedback in both live and student paced? Yes, they'll see it in both live and student paced mode. You have to actually, even in instructor paced mode, they can see all the feedback in live mode. But with student paced, they can go to the slide and see the feedback on the slide. Do students see the feedback on takeaways? At this moment, they do not. So the takeaways are the individualized Google Docs. You can publish at the end of a session, publish them once per session. And I can do this from my sessions menu. When it's closed, you can see I have the option to publish takeaways. I can do that when I end the session. I'll show you that today when we're done. Either way, that's a premium feature, takeaways. The export to spreadsheet is a Google Sheet, which has all the text-based responses, not the drawing or draggable. But that's a nice feature because that has student names as well. And of course, make sure to turn on to require email login in your settings before using these, or you'll just see anonymous information on your takeaways or spreadsheet. But these are available with Google. So make sure that you're logging into Pear Deck with Google if you want to access these features or Google Base account. When you publish them, they end up in your drive and they're published automatically to, well, actually I need a different, I need to go back to a different drive account. I'm just making sure I do that. And they are published automatically in a Pear Deck folder. So heading to Google Drive, when you start publishing takeaways or exporting responses to a spreadsheet, they're saved there in this folder called Pear Deck. You'll find them, you can find them there for review. You can see that I have that Pear Deck folder. It was created a long time ago. I'm still using it. Of course, you can change folder names as you like. Drive gets a little slow for me when I'm running a few presentations and Zoom call, but you can see here under Pear Deck, I have my exports here, takeaways here, and they're sorted based on the name of the deck and the name of the session. Now, going back to our original presentation. So they don't see feedback on their takeaways from your session, but we're working on a solution for that. Our developers are looking into that now. And so we're trying to take feedback, which I'm happy to take actually from the presentation today too. And that's kind of feedback we're looking into. How can we fix that? But when you want to extend the lesson with takeaways, you can open one of those takeaways. They're live in Google Docs, so they can be edited in real time, and students can leave comments for you as well, just like any other Google Doc. As I mentioned, the takeaways are sorted by the name of the deck, and I put aside an example, and then within that, the name of the session that you presented with that deck. And then you're going to see a whole list of Google Docs that were published, but let's see if I can find not a real example. There are a lot of takeaways in here. I won't be able to open a real person's takeaway, but you'll also get a blank responses copy when you publish takeaways, and you can use that to share, for example, with a student who missed class. And you can, of course, again, leave comments on takeaways, and students can leave comments back for you. All right, my students were working in student pace mode, but we were live and I was watching their responses and giving feedback on wrong answers. Do the students see which slide feedback is for, or do I have to say, check your answer in slide 8? Great question. They will see which slide the feedback is for. In student pace mode, they'll see it right on, they'll be able to scroll to the slide and see the feedback that applies to it. In instructor pace mode, you're gonna see in that preview, you're gonna see the slide and then the feedback underneath it. Is there a way for students to zoom on a slide to see it better? Ooh, okay. Zoom feature in the browser doesn't allow you to zoom. That is a good question. That's very limited right now, actually. And that's also another feature request that we have in some cases. And I think in a lot of cases, you can see the slide well, but sometimes on the drawing slide and the canvas, it's a little challenging. And if you have an image on your slide, you can click on it as a student. You see, here I am on my student view. Let's get out of there again. On a slide like this one, like a text response slide, I can hover over it. I can see this expander tool, and then I can more easily see the slide that way. All righty. Is there a way for students to zoom in? Oh, I just, yep, sorry. Repeat of myself. Do the multiple choice questions answer? Yes, they export to spreadsheets. And here, going back here into Drive, if I go back to my Pear Deck folder, I'll find a spreadsheet export example under exports. And there's just going to be one spreadsheet per session. And once again, I'm going to find an example session that I made with our fake student accounts. But because I turned on email login before I presented this session, and it was on before I presented, now I have students' names, I have their email addresses, I have text-based responses and multiple choice. So you remember this one, our Don Quixote question. Yes, there's the multiple choice slide responses column. The drawing and draggable slides don't render anything. The draggables give you coordinates. A little hard to work with that, but the spreadsheet can't produce our images. So again, just the number, multiple choice, and text-based responses. You can actually grade these sheets with a free add-on in Google Sheets called Flubaroo. Really handy tool. Where you can set up the parameters to grade your sheet, and you will need the correct responses, so you can enter them in, or you can join the session and enter correct responses to have a basis of comparison. All right, good questions. Yay, I'm so glad. I was super informative. But I'll take your feedback as well, absolutely. So students do not have to hit submit or anything. No. It automatically saves. Their answers are automatically saved. So they're saved as soon as they're received. You can always go back to your sessions menu, open the projector dashboard view to find that. And when you leave the slide, they're saved. Students do not have to click submit or anything. But if I don't want students to change their responses, and I'm presenting a live instructor-paced session like this, I might just want to go ahead and lock my screens just like that. So I make sure that I isolate the answers that I want there, so that maybe we've had a discussion and I want to keep the responses students had saved earlier or had submitted. Then I'll lock screens. And again, if you want to click and hold it, you can set a lock slide timer. But we'll go ahead and open those up again. Can you have both the projector and the dashboard view open in two different places? Yeah, really good question. So for example, if you're presenting on a video conference call like this, like on a Zoom call, I'm sharing the projector view in one window, and then I have the dashboard, the private dashboard open in a separate window. And for example, I have two screens here. If you have one screen, you can still open both views and put them next to each other. And when you're sharing your view on a call, just go ahead and share the projector view, and then keep the dashboard private to you. And that's what we recommend in order to keep the student information private. Can I use this session as a reference where they can go and review content? Yeah, absolutely. Highly recommend exactly what you're asking about. And in order to let students review, then you'll want to get that join code for them or join link. And if I click on the join code, I can see all of this information here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this link, and I'm going to maybe email students or post this where they can see it and say, to review your session, please click on this link. But make sure again that they can get in. I highly recommend using student pace mode for review, because then they can go to every slide, not just the one that you're on. So make sure again that, all right, we're updating the session here, that mode, I want it in that status of student pace. Then I can open my projector or dashboard view and get that link for them or code. All right. If you have teacher notes to help you teach, do you have to make them in the slides and they show up in the dashboard, or do you make them in the dashboard view before the session? Thank you for asking. All you have to do is put them in your Google Slides, actually. So this works with Google Slides. So here's my original file. And there's this space underneath the slides here. Some of you will be familiar with this already. So I appreciate your patience. If you're not, this is a really cool, helpful section here. And I love it because I put my notes here underneath the slide. And you can sort of hide those away. When you present your session, you're going to see them both in the dashboard and in the projector view. When you have notes on a slide, they just show up automatically. So you don't have to put them in the dashboard view. They will appear there if they were in your slides before you presented. So I could teach 4 sections. Can I use the session 4 times? I mean, reopen it. Yeah, absolutely. So while you can present your file, any number of sessions on your file, you can use the same session if that's easier for your teaching. So what I would do is come back to my sessions menu. If I want to open that session again, I'll find it. Good idea to give it a name, actually, which I haven't done yet. You can name the session from your navigation bar like this. You can see I clicked on my More Actions button, and I'm clicking right here where it says Unnamed Session. And I'm going to name this. Any identifying information that you can provide here that will help you is, suggested probably for a different class period, subject certainly, but of course, this is good enough organizing for my purposes right now. So I'm going to save that session name, and it updates in my sessions menu. If you make an update and don't see it, try refreshing the page, and we'll pull in that information. And you'll see which session you have here, and you can certainly come back and reopen it, close it as many times as you like. But something to keep in mind with Pear Deck is that when you make changes to your original slides file, those changes won't update any previous sessions. So for example, if I were to go in and change anything about these slides, add a new interactive slide with Pear Deck, which I make with my Pear Deck sidebar, the add-on sidebar. If I change anything, those changes won't appear in any sessions that I presented previously. They'll only appear in new sessions. So that's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about how to use Pear Deck sessions to teach your classes. If you're going to keep adding new content to your slides for students, I do recommend presenting new sessions so that it will capture those new slides. Okay, I have many pre-made Google Slides presentations that have a ton of animations that pull up answers, etc. If I convert to Pear Deck, do the animations still work? Another really good question. All right, in the normal setup, presenting with Pear Deck, the animations won't work. It'll just show all of the slide content. So that layering won't work with Pear Deck unless you use the Pear Deck Power Up. That's a free Chrome extension. And I can show you exactly how to find out more information about that. What we're going to do is look at the Pear Deck knowledge base and go via peardeck.com so that we have a point of reference. And once I get to peardeck.com, I'm going to click on support. Actually, if you need to contact the help desk though, you click on help desk. That's here's our Twitter feed all the way at the bottom of the page. So that's to contact help@peardeck.com. You can also email directly, but support or knowledge base is going to get you to our knowledge base where we have more information about all sorts of tools, but namely the Power Up. Let's see, present Google Slides animations with the Power Up. So I'm going to that site and talks all about what it enables, but essentially you can use this extension to make your animations run in a Pear Deck instructor-paced session. So it's currently only active on an instructor-paced session at this time. And here are the instructions. You can go directly to the Chrome store, and here's the link on this page again. That's at help.peardeck.com, our support site, for more information on how to get the Power Up extension. How to track students' improvement, to see how they're doing, maybe choosing the most active to reward. Well, that's a great question. And I think that opening the dashboard is the best way to do that. And you can do this during a live session or even a student-paced session when students are clicking through the slides on their own. And so that's a good way to do it in real time. But as far as looking at it over time, how it builds over time, we don't have at this moment a way for Pear Deck to sort of analyze that data. But if you're wanting to import that information maybe into a different tool or somewhere where it's easier to track progress in the form of numbers and quantify it, then I would suggest exporting to a spreadsheet and using this. It's a little easier to quantify that data. Otherwise, I would suggest opening up the dashboard and then clicking on the slides, and you'll see the students' responses that way. And they're saved over time. They are saved over time in the sessions menu. As far as sort of doing like longer term evaluation, and that is something that we can definitely take your feedback on. And if you ever have any more extended feedback, please email help@peardeck.com. You are so welcome. Whoever said that, you're very welcome. Will I have the responses of the 4 sections showing up on my dashboard? I mean the form the previous sessions if I use the same. Well, if you use the same session over and over again, yeah, you're going to see updated responses there. So while the slides won't change, if you change your slides, it doesn't update the previous session, the responses will, that students leave. Whenever students enter again and change responses or add responses, you will see that that will be updated in your sessions, updated live automatically, and so that they can change their responses or add new insights. But you can also, when you're presenting a session, you can actually add a new prompt. So this does give you a way to insert a new slide and get new responses from students. So if you keep using the same session over and over again and want to add a new question, go ahead and click new prompt while that session is open. And you can add templates. You can add any of our templates, and you can ask the same question with a different interactivity type. But at the moment, not a way to actually edit these, but they can be really helpful when you're trying to expand the discussion, for example. Well, I would love to leave you with some resources going forward. So help.peardeck.com, that knowledge base again, Twitter for important news, and help@peardeck.com is our help desk. So email us if you have any questions, feedback, concerns, anything like that. Also, if you're looking for pre-made interactive lessons, just to get your feet wet and see what other teachers have done with Pear Deck, peardeck.com/orchard, and you'll find that content on our website to explore. You can go to explore content at peardeck.com. And finally, I want to say thank you so much for joining today and asking really good questions. I have a little feedback survey here. If you have a minute and feel inclined, please do go ahead and leave some feedback. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.